So, the talk is about a brief perspective on forensic geotechnics. So forensic, as you understand, is the investigation into failures and trying to understand why things fail or fall down. Here. Okay, here we go into the necessities of forensic investigation findings, including the geotechnics. Of course, there are also forensics for above ground structures like buildings and things like and MH17, that Boeing 777 getting shot down is a very classic case of forensic, where they try to determine who fired the missile at the plane. So number one is it has to be credible. Why is there a quote? It's essential to be arrived at on the basis of rational and mechanistic engineering fundamentals in order to stand up to scrutiny. Very often forensic findings will be presented in court and will be disputed and challenged. Number two, it avoids frivolous mitigative constructions, so you don't implement unnecessary corrective constructions. Number three, you must be capable of buttressing the practice of sound engineering. That means it will show that sound engineering practice is valid. Number four, you help to correct unsound engineering practices, especially established practices which seem to not to result in problems earlier, but later under particular situations the practice do not seem to work. So it's time for further studies and understanding. And number five is to assist in the apportionment of responsibilities and liabilities for losses associated with the failure events. For instance, if you are an owner of a facility, house buyer or so, something like that, and your house experiences problems, you want to look for people to pay for the repairs. In most cases, at the moment, I think a lot of people will just blame the contractors, but you have to understand that the contractor's work, before he's paid, he has to be accepted as advised or certified by the supervising consultant. So actually, at the end of the day, it's the project consultant who's actually liable. So we go to contentious forensic findings. There are quite a number of them in the literature. Now, number one is this San Francisco Dam in California. It failed on the 13th March 1928. Now, interestingly, the investigation findings was completed and released just 12 days after the failure. And this is a bit of the specific on the dam. It was a 60 meters high concrete arch dam and collapsed soon after full impoundment. That means as soon as the water level approached the maximum reservoir level, it collapsed. And number two, failure was blamed on piping and erosion in the conglomerate foundations. Now it's recorded that soon after this collapse, the geologists came along and they were very, very happy to find that there was conglomerates on your left-hand side and the ground was schist on the right-hand side. So conveniently, they said that it was piping under or through the conglomerate foundations that caused the problem. But then it wasn't until 8 years after a similar dam in France and Malpassé that failed Well, this dam failed in 1959, and it wasn't until 8 years after it failed that it was realized that uplift water pressures in the foundations that cause instabilities in such dams. And following that, the engineering philosophy for the design of concrete arch dams was thoroughly revised. So that's a benefit of that failure. But it took 30 years plus 8, so almost 40 years before they realized the fault. Now, number 2 contentious forensic finding is the Cassington Dam failure in 1984. It was a 30 meters high earth dam, and it had a very interesting clay core geometry. This is a clay core. Normally, clay cores would just come down vertically and stop there. So this had an extra feature here, which was considered unusual. Now, it failed on the upstream side. As the embankment was about to be completed. So it wasn't filled with water. So this is the upstream side. This is the reservoir downstream. And as you can see here, the upstream side is supposed to have a flatter slope. And this is a plan of the failure. So this would have been the lowest inward in that river which the dam was blocking or damming up. It's 400 over meters, almost half a kilometer length of failure. So as usual, there was a very comprehensive investigation, and everybody who was interested gave this piece of opinion. Now, the findings said that the yellow clay that was left in the foundations was the cause of the problem. But the thing was, the yellow clay was removed at the axis of the dam. It means at the highest point or lowest inlet in the river. That failure also occurred there. Number 2, it did not fail on the steeper downstream side, even though the yellow clay was also present. Now, I suppose anybody would be able to come to a conclusion that this feature in the core was cause of the problem. But the people who were officially assigned or engaged to do the investigation never mentioned this. However, because of the great interest among the academics, because we industry also benefited. Now, the result of that activity was improved computational capabilities available to everyday practicing engineers like me and you. Now, number 3 is something closer to home. This is the Highland Towers collapse on 11 December 1993. You can see this before they cleared off the debris. I think this must be on the first day or second day. This is a view from the rear of the collapse on the back end of Highland Tower. Now, the official investigation came up with these very marvelous findings. So they said there were 5 successive collapses in the slope or landslides, if you like, followed by the last one here. So they say that ground failure number 5, which is this in pink here, is said to have perpetrated the collapse of the 14 stories high apartment building. What it did was they said that it induced a roughly flat slab of soil out this way, moving towards the left. And you say that the translating slab of soil was driven by a surcharge 140 kilopascals. As a result, landslide debris that collected behind the building, together with the pore pressure ratio, RU, you're into soil mechanics or geotechnical engineer, you will understand what this is, an RU figure of 0.7 in the ground. Now, for those who are interested, you will be able to get hold of this MPAJ investigation report. During that collapse, that collapse caused the death of 49 persons. 48 in the building that collapsed, the debris, and one person was a Japanese woman. She was extracted from the debris, but she died in the hospital. I found that rather fascinating that they could come up with something like that, so I did my own little analysis. So you like this translating slab of soil is that little pink thing, and the surcharge load 140 kPa is at the back here. Now if you're into soil mechanics and things like that, you know that the surcharge would generate an active earth pressure trying to push this slab of soil, and this slab of soil will be resisted by friction at the base of the slab. Now, whether the driving force can transmit to this slab a force high enough to cause it to slide will depend on whether there is sufficient passive force capacity within the sliding slab, which means that for sliding to be possible, FA, that means the driving force must exceed the resisting capacity, and FP, which is the absorbing force, must also exceed the resisting capacity. So these two quantities must exceed 1. Now you go through the mathematics, you find that this is the ratio of 1. So for that mode of failure to be possible, that ratio must be above this red line. And you go through the mathematics, you find that there's no possibility for that to happen, because as your soil friction angle rises, your active force that you can generate from the surcharge keeps reducing. Although under a certain circumstance, the passive capacity can increase until the ratio exceeds 1, but the driving force or ratio cannot. So it simply means that the ground underneath Highland Towers cannot be driven to slide as a 30-meter wide soil slab. Now this is a real-life slope failure which took place 4.5 years ago. And this ground translation or heave did not reach the buildings 16 meters away. These buildings are 60 meters away from the toe of the slope. Okay. And during investigations, we had this, how do I play this? Oh, can you go back one? I meant to play the video. Now, when we drill a borehole at the foot of the slope, because after the debris being cleared, we had this 5.6 meter water jet that shot out of the ground. And this happened at the depth of about 10 meters below the ground surface here. Now we go through the mathematics, we work out that the RU or pore water pressure ratio was about 0.7 and identical to what was said to have happened at Highland Tower that caused the collapse of Highland Towers. So you can see that this is a real situation where the RU pore pressure ratio was actually 0.7, and the damaged ground was only about I think it's only about 10 meters. And this height of slope is 23 meters. We'll come back to that later. Now I want to provide you some records of what I've done. This is a case history number 1. It relates to a collapse of underfort retaining wall. Now the geometry of the works that was taking place just before it collapsed is shown in this diagram here. Some details: the retaining wall was constructed in 1978, ironically about the same time as Block 1 of Highland Towers, and it collapsed just 3 hours before Highland Towers did on the same day. Now, usually looking at this sort of geometries, it would have been very tempting to conclude that the subsequent excavation was happening here, because they were going to build a new house. Now, it would have tempting to conclude that the subsequent excavation had undermined the retaining wall and the slope to cause collapse. Okay? You can see that earlier this ground continued down to here, and for the construction of this new house, they sort of carved away this bottom bit of the slope. However, it was considered necessary to ascertain if the wall failed in that straightforward manner, because it had been undermined. Now this is a counterfort wall. Not a very common construction, but has been used. So this is a wall stand, or face of wall stand. The retained ground is here, and the lower ground is on this side. And there are all these ribs are what we call the counterfort. So with this construction, we can get away with a thinner wall stem or wall face. I marked in red there, that connection there should have been the most tenacious construction, or the most strongly connected place, this wall. So when we investigated we decided to have a look at the base of the counterfort. As I said earlier, in the counterfort wall construction, the connection between the counterfort and the base slab must necessarily be the most tenacious, that means the most strongest. And when we carried out physical examination, we found that the counterfort had detached from the base slab. So we excavated down. This is the counterfort behind here. And that's the bottom of the counterfort. This must have been the thickness of the depth of the base slab with this slip off. And the reinforcement, as you can see here, are rather light. So this is the sketch of the counterfort, that or details of the bottom of the counterfort wall structure that we managed to record. The outcome of this investigation is rather interesting. We went to court. The High Court ruled that the new excavation at the neighboring house caused the retaining walls collapse. I mean, I think that's a tendency for almost everybody to arrive at that view. But this court case went further to appeal, and the Court of Appeal held that the retaining walls construction was inherently deficient, and therefore it led to its own collapse. And the Court of Appeal reversed the High Court's decision. So I was very happy with that. Case number 2. This is about the breaching of an upstream cofferdam, temporary cofferdam. This was cofferdam put up to facilitate the construction of an earth-filled dam. So this is the was the upstream coffer dam here. The main dam construction is down this right bottom corner. So the upstream side, downstream side. And as you can see here in the bridge, the collapse here, there's a remnant of the sheet pile cut-off wall in there. Yeah. Okay, those people on the job, they claim that the breach was caused by upstream flood water that overtopped the coffer dam's crest. That means flood water on this side rose higher than the coffer dam and caused its breach. Note number 2 here says that sheet pile cut-off wall is only present on the southern half. This is southern end, this is north end. Only present on the southern half of the bridge. Now the explanation was the northern end, they couldn't install the sheet piles because the presence of shallow hard ground had obstructed the sheet piles installation. So you can see here, this is a comparison of the coffer dam just the morning before the bridge, and this was taken the morning after the bridge. Now you can see from these 2 photos that it's clearly visible that the bridge part of the coffer dam, there are visual cues here. This pump set that is here and here, they were not moved over these 2 days. So it's clearly visible that the bridge part of the coffer dam was higher in elevation than the section before and after it. You can see that it's higher up here and lower here and lower here. And furthermore, if you look at the photographs available after the bridge, there are no signs of erosion to show that these stretches of coffer dam with the lower crest elevations were overtopped. So it's quite a mystery. We are lucky that, in these days of smartphones and phones with cameras, so somebody made a video recording showing water flowing over the upstream coffer dam. Okay? And it also had the timestamp showing that the event took place at 1:20 or 1:30 p.m. midday. Now we could ask a lot of questions. Now we had to try to establish the flood level when the water was recorded flowing over the coffer dam at about 1:30 p.m. They had the site supervisor who was in charge of securing the fuel storage tanks on the reservoir site. And he told us that the flood water was rising calmly and steadily since he took up the station at about 8:30 a.m. when the water level was, and at that moment in time, was about 3.8 meters below the highest point on the coffer dam. I have to apologize for being so cryptic with these details because I expect this case to go to court. And for that reason, I'm not allowed IEM to keep recording of my file, representation file. But just for your ears, I'm telling you the story. Now, so I'm using the highest point on the coffer dam as the point of reference for all my elevations from now on. So the flood reached the storage tank floor corresponding to the level of about 1.8 meters below the highest point on the coffer dam at about 4:45, almost 5 p.m. Before, this is the supervisor's description, before subsiding abruptly and accompanied by a rush of water and debris past his station. So 1.8 meters below the highest point of the coffer dam would have been a higher water level than this, about 2 meters higher than at 8:30 a.m. So if we interpolate, do a rough interpolation, at about 1:30 p.m. the flood water level would have been about 2.5 meters below the highest point on the coffer dam. And if it's about 2.5, it would be about 0.7 meters below, lower than the highest water level, and yet the coffer dam was overtopped at that time at a low water level. So these are the sort of information we use to build up the water levels. This is on upstream side. So this picture is on the upstream portal of a diversion tunnel. This lump here is this lump here, and this area would be here. So we know that at 8:30 a.m. the flood water was 3.8 meters below the highest point of the dam. Now, I'm sure for most of you who are in the same business as I am will know that with record keeping construction in this country is very poor, more so for contemporary works like this. So we had a hard time trying to reconstruct or guess what was constructed for the upstream coffer dam. After going through construction records, actually excavation records, with survey data that the contractor prepared for claiming, making their progress claims, we were able to establish that I think this is a pretty good enough estimate of what was constructed. So the downstream side of the coffer dam, or the dam, is on here, and they were doing foundation excavation or preparation on the downstream side of the coffer dam. These are upstream side. So we think that they constructed something like this. And on plan, that's how things look. The bridge length of the coffer dam was about 100 meters on this here. Also marked in here is the sheet pile cut-off wall that ended there, which we estimated on photographs. We were not able to get absolute information from the site records. So from this and material data or test data from materials that we collected from boreholes after the bridging gave us all these numbers, and we were able to put these numbers into stability analysis, and we were able to sort of establish that the structure had indeed collapsed. But there's a little trick here, because if you do a single stability analysis, you will get this failure. You will not show what happened subsequent to this. But the thing is, after this region had collapsed, if you continue running your analysis as I did, you will find that there will be another collapse here, and following this, another one, and so on and so forth, until this collapse sort of coincided with the flood level. And I believe that was a point in time when this person recorded a video to show that the coffer dam was being overtopped by flood waters. Now after the bridge, they went back to do some repair works or retrofitting works. This is the south end section. There's a north. Before the bridge, this sheet pile cut-off wall stopped here. Okay, and that's why you saw the bent or deflected sheet piles in the earlier photograph. Now in the repairs, they continued sheet piles over here, further north. Okay. Now the outcome of the investigation was the part of the cofferdam embankment with a sheet pile cut-off wall suffered a sequence of collapses in its slope on the downstream side as the flood was rising. And the flood water had streamed over the cofferdam when the embankment crest dropped below the flood level. Now you know not to accept the words of contractors. Now in the reconstruction, the sheet pile cut-off diaphragm was extended significantly north of the bridge. Now they were able to do that. It shows that there was no hard ground obstructing the installation of sheet piles previously. So in short, we may say that the contractors had shortchanged in the beginning. Case number 3 is about sinkholes in the back of wall, roadway. Okay. This picture shows the effects in the back of wall. The wall is over here, the sea is over this side, container stacking yard is over here. So you see depressions in the roadway, you can see sinkholes in the roadway. This would have been potentially a professional indemnity insurance claim. This is the cross-section of the roadway at the back of wharf. This is a wharf structure with a drop-off wharf deck here. This is a sea here. It had an interesting revetment cover to the slope. I marked in here recorded sinkhole positions, mostly right behind this future crane beam here. And interestingly, there's one recorded far end. So, although the sinkholes were recorded mostly occurring along the future rear crane beam, a sinkhole had also been reported close to the container yard as shown in the earlier diagram. So this is a sinkhole investigation process that pictures of which I was given. When I was involved, all this work had been finished because this took place in 2006 and only got involved in 2011, 5 years after. So you can see a sinkhole with a man inside. And they excavated, chased down the sinkhole, down the cable bank. Okay, they noted voids under the cable bank. And they continued until they arrived at the tie rods, and they found that the sinkhole chimney stopped immediately below the tie rod. That means the sinkhole did not proceed below the tie rod level. This also photographs provided to me. It says that there was presence of sand deposits on top of the revetment mattress underneath the wharf. There are 3 consulting engineering companies to provide the findings of what caused the problems. This was, 5 years earlier. I use this naming system. I'm sure you are familiar now with the 1MDB case where the Department of Justice of the United States of America calling individuals Malaysian official 1 or 1MDB officer number 1 and things like that. So I don't claim to have invented this system, but it so happened that to coincide. Now, engineer number 1 was a design and supervision consultant for the wharf structure and development construction. The port operator wanted to make engineer number 1 liable for faulty design of the slope revetment mattress. So you realize that if you are going to practice as a consulting engineer, you're supervising, it's a very heavy burden to carry. You can be liable for these sort of things. Engineer number 2 was the port operator's local investigator. It happened to be a geotechnical engineering consulting company. And engineer number 3 was also the port operator's investigator, but happened to be a foreign marine engineering consulting company. I summarize here engineer number 1's statements. Number 1, he said that the wheel path ruts were the result of dynamic compaction by passage of heavy haulage traffic, that is the port traffic. Of course, he's right to say that the port operated very heavy vehicles, but the port should have been designed and constructed to cater for these sort of things. Number 2, he said that sinkholes are caused by piping through the reclamation field or quicksand condition created by heavy vehicle wheels running over the ground with pockets of water. And then engineer number 2 said this: the connection detail between the revetment mattress and the crane beam was improper, and it led to loss of ground from the back of wharf during tidal changes to cause sinkholes. And it provided evidence that sand deposits were present on top of revetment, and he used this as a proof support to buttress that statement. Number 3, this is a very dramatic statement. He said that sand deposition was so severe as to have formed a beach-like condition on the revetment. Number 4, they said that the impervious revetment mattress was prone to uplift and sliding during receding tides. That means after the tide is on to the highest, then when the tide dropped, the impervious revetment mattress was prone to uplifting because of trapped high water pressures underneath the mattress, and was sliding during receding tides. And he also said leakage of ground into underground drainage structures also led to the sinkholes. Number 6, the constructed pavement structure was said to be adequate. I can't say more than this, but if you ask me privately, I'll be going to tell you more. All I can say is there might have been an element of conflict of interest by engineer number 2. Number 7, he recommended the construction of a grouted curtain wall to arrest leakage of sand from the back of wharf. Just like what people doing dams do. Engineer number 3 statements, he said that terminating the top end of the revetment mattress low into the tidal region resulted in high waterhead reverses to drive sand out to the slope surface. Number 2, he said that pavement defects were due to silt content higher than specification limits in the sand bedding through the paving blocks and reclamation field. These paving blocks are the interlocking blockwork pavements that was used for the park pavement. And number 3, pavement settlements could have been caused by fines leaching through weep holes in covers and joints between precast concrete deep units. Number 4, he recorded observing water jetting out of joints between pavement blocks when a heavy truck wheel rolled over during a rainstorm. Now this is a diagram to show, I apologize that for the poor resolution from our projector. This is a diagram showing mapped sinkhole positions and areas of sand accumulations on the rebatment along the wall. So this starting end, it goes along this way, continues this way, this way, this way, this way. So the yellow patches are the sand accumulated patches, okay? And I mark in recorded position of sinkholes. So you see that other than this little bit here, all the other sinkholes do not match the areas where sand deposition was recorded. So number one, there was no correlationship between sand accumulation on the rebatment and known sinkholes, as you can see clearly here. Now this is a very significant statement here. Records from the port operators say that after each sinkhole had been filled up, okay, the problem did not recur. That means the sinkhole did not recur. Say, there's one sinkhole here, you got filled up, it did not happen again there. It may happen here, it may happen here. Similarly, if it happened here after it is filled out, it did not happen again. So I thought this is pretty significant. So to find out the cause for the formation of sinkholes, I thought it's useful to look at the construction activities or history along the back of the wharf. So what we found was they had these trenches dug and left in place to construct these tie rods, and also this little bit of concreting work at the end. So you can see this deep trench here, and after completion of all this was backfilled. The ground further back was already filled up to completion. When you see this sort of scenarios, it's not hard to imagine that the backfilling here was just antique over. So to tie all these bits and pieces together, found that first, sinkholes that were chased down the chimneys did not proceed below the tie rod. This is the tie rod. And this was the sort of excavation that was created to complete this bit of work here. So you can surmise that during backfilling, the region below the tie rods were left hollow. And these tie rods, although the steel diameter is not big, but it had this enormous HDPE sheet, very big diameter HDPE sheet. So it sort of obstructed the flow of backfill down. And this was the only sort of understanding that we could come up with to explain why the sinkholes never appeared again after they were filled up. And certainly if they had been leaking out, if you had filled back this sinkhole, if the process of reclamation sand being washed out and continued, these sinkholes would recur at the same position. So it did not. We also like to find out why the beach-like sand deposits occurred on the rebatment. Now, we went back to archive photographs and find that this is a drop panel. This would have been the line of the future crane beam here. And the sinkholes were happening here. And this region would have been under that drop panel here. You see all these sand deposits that were already there before the deck was put in. This is a closer look. This is a row of piles that's along here. So the beach-like sand deposits came about because of this. The outcome from that investigation was the sinkholes in the back of the wharf did not result from the loss of sand, but were the consequence of voids left in the backfill underneath the tie rods. So the postulations of sand leaking from the back of the wharf were frivolous as far as I'm concerned. As their investigation were made and concluded without consideration of the construction processes involved. All those investigators never went to look back at what was going on during construction. So the grouted curtain cut-off wall proposal made by engineer number 2 was abandoned and not constructed. Now, the happy ending was the port operator discontinued its claim against engineer number 1 for faulty design of the development work. And I must say the findings from the 3 engineers were very ingenious. So that's the end of my presentation during the conference. Since we have time, I've got some more to show you. So we go into drainage, a problem with drainage inside a large earth field. Okay. This is a 30 meters high sidelong field road embankment failure. This is the road that you take if you drive from Kuala Brang to Gomusan. Lake Lanier is on the left. So this is the diagram provided to me to say what was constructed from the embankment. The red one was the as design geometry, and in green was what they produced from their post-failure surveys. And interestingly, in the embankment they had all these drainage blankets here, and a rock-filled toe. There's also a drainage blanket along the face where they place the embankment field. So it was built up inside the 30 meters high road embankment. This is the same road after they stripped off the asphalt pavement. So we made this inspection trench here, this is the inspection trench, and walking along on the outside we noticed that this exit end of the drainage blanket where they had a geofabric encapsulation or wrapping, the geofabric was completely encrusted with ferric concretion. You can see here. You'll see the same thing if you were to open up your water pipes at home. Now this is the trench, inspection trench that we dug. That lighter strip here is was the drainage blanket. So we excavated below the drainage blanket, the topmost drainage blanket. And interestingly, in spite of the provision of drainage blankets and things like that, sewage water appeared about 2 meters above the highest drainage blanket. So it was flow oozing in from the walls of this trench above the drainage blanket. And when we reached the sampling floor, in about 20 minutes, the sampling floor was completely flooded. So you can imagine there was quite a lot of water coming in, which surprisingly the drainage blanket was not dealing with. Sinkholes and solar holes in earthworks. Are there any geologists in the audience? If you are a geologist, please put out your hand. I won't scold you. The reason why I ask is geologists always claim that they have exclusive, or sinkholes are their exclusive domains, and sinkholes are only associated with limestone bedrocks. So this is a railway track along the east coast. It's no longer operational. You see a depression here and another depression here. What happened was that the railway ballast had dropped into the sinkholes at this point and at that point. You can see in order to stop the ballast from dropping into the sinkhole, they got to put some sort of retention boards there. I had occasion to have a look at these. When you look at the side of the embankments, you see all these little holes, swallow holes. And I think that internal erosion was taking place along all these discontinuities, if you like, the embankments. And this came about simply because of shrinkage of the compacted field. So there's no real magic. On another earthworks job, I had the good luck, or good fortune to capture this photograph. That I think is the contractor's cabin up there. So this is the top of the earthworks platform, and there were all these shrinkage cracks, and as I walk down the slope, you see all these features. Normally people would say that these are gullies from surface erosions and things like that. But if it's a gully formed by surface erosion, it should be cutting out just like this and not eroding in and penetrating, underneath this slab or soil or whatever, compacted slab. And this is another one. This lighter patch here is the surface. I like to say something about buffer zones for safety and hillside developments, since we have time. This is a diagram of the guideline used in for hillside developments. It's a document dated 2012. So I say that the buffer zone guidelines have been actively or pushed or promoted for use on hillside developments by participants, because they are probably not engineers, or it could be people in authorities, but for a simple matter that they have no faith in engineers anymore. So they try to do things like this to force developers and submitting engineers to comply with. So, used by simpletons in the hope that everything would be rosy afterwards. So they are promoting things like, if this is the height of the slope, we cannot have any buildings within distance less equal or less than the height of the slope, and also on top of the slope, same thing. This is a very dramatic Bukit Antarabangsa satellite imagery of a landslide on the 6th of December 2008. This is a satellite picture taken on 13 August 2008, about 4 months before the landslide. And this satellite picture was taken on 9 December 2008. So the date is correct. That it says about 3 days after the landslide. So this is the scar of the landslide. You see that the distance, this is about 200 meters from the toe of the slope to the last house here. And this slope is 70 meters high. So you see the carnage extended all the way until close to the front of the last house. I extracted this from the official investigation report. So what I've done is I marked in the original slope surface in plotted or dashed rate, and I also included some photographs that appeared in the newspaper the day or two after the landslide. Now, this photograph is located here, point here. Like I said earlier, I apologize for the projector, it's not very good. You can get hold of the picture file, you'll be able to see big slabs of asphalt, that is road surfacing, together with pavement markings on top of this heap. Now the significant thing about that is Bukit Antara Bangsa, the main road here, was the only road with road line marking. All these secondary roads inside here, internal roads, did not have. And all these road pavements were sitting on top of this part. This heap here is about 3 meters. Okay, post landslide ground surface is here. Before it was here, so that's about 3 meters. And this heap here is about 50 meters away from the toe of the slope. Okay? And this house is located here. And you can see that this is a car porch. And the car porch floor was raised about 3 meters, so much so that the car that was parked there early morning had its roof jammed against the underside of the car porch. What I'm trying to say here is that in that report, it postulated 3 regressive slides. Okay, so this is one here. You can see that the way it's drawn, this failure only ended here. It never reached there. So the point is, if you were to implement that the buffer zone required 70 meters slope height, it means that you only need to, or the landslide runout would only reach about 7 meters, so that you have your buildings beyond that, you would not be affected by a landslide. But in this case, you can see that landslide runout far exceeded 70 meters. I showed this photograph earlier. This is a 23 meters high slope, and the runout was only about 10 meters. Okay, so slope failure did not go more than half its height. So here we have a landslide, one landslide that destroyed properties to a distance of almost 3 times the height of the slope, and yet we have another one that traveled less than half the height of the slope. So what's the logic in imposing buffer space? I'll show you some example of a reinforced soil wall construction failure. This happened under a bridge at an apartment. So you can see that this picture is taken by standing underneath at this point. You can see all these reinforcement strips that ruptured. You can't see the connection brackets at the back of the facing wall clearly. The next picture should show you the condition. So these are all the dismantled facing wall panels. Contrast is not very good. You can see that there's this connection bracket here, that have been ripped open. The reinforcement rod should have gone in through the connection brackets with both at the ends, and the reinforcement rod will continue into the field. I believe this is a similar problem that happened at, I think it was at Virginia State long time ago, where compressing backfill in the reinforced earth or soil construction that caused overloading of these strips and the connectors. Now this is a river edge retaining wall failure. It came out in the newspaper somewhere in Jaya. So this wall that's under the bridge here would have continued up here, same as here. So what happened was that the wall had collapsed over, fell over. This is the diagram. What happened was the original wall was 3 meters high, or retaining 3 meters high of ground. Then, after the 3 meters high retaining wall had been constructed, the owner of the adjacent land thought that he would get more space, so he raised the wall by a meter and vacuumed it. Okay? So the wall stem was raised by 1 meter after a 3 meters high wall had been constructed. And extra vacuum placed. On your right, you see a summary of analysis provided by the investigating engineer. The top one was for a 3 meter high wall, and this lower table here is for the kind of wall raised 1 meter. So you can see this is the roof for sliding. For some reason, this computation showed that the factor of safety against sliding for 3 meter high wall was less than unity. But strangely, for 4 meter high wall, it was in excess of unity. So the message here is that the 3 meter high wall would not have been stable, but making it 4 meters would have been a little bit more stable. Now, what I think is that the riverbed actually just covered down, and the wall units just fell into it. And these bits that you see here are the back Q beams of the Overton retaining wall units. To get an idea of how much the riverbed has covered, inside the water here, there are these huge blocks of concrete that people use to stack up for road testing of house, these cantilage blocks. So you can see that the cantilage blocks are submerged, sitting on the, actually it's on the concrete stem of this wall that lying down on this on the riverbed. I think this is of great interest to a lot of people. This is about pile supported retaining walls. This is a brick wall sitting on piles that failed dramatically. Now, this is a picture of that wall after the debris had been removed, and you can see what they constructed was a series of brick piles with one vertical row at the back, and all this is a front view from the front. So all these brick piles had turned vertical. Now, if we carry out power reaction analysis, you'll find that for this particular construction, row 1, 2, 3, 4. So power row 1, 2, 3, 4. If you run the system for all 4 piles present, 4 rows of piles present, row 1 would be suffering a tension of 21 tons. Probably can still remain intact because that's the joints are okay, because the reinforcement in the power body should have been able to cope with that. Number 2, the axle load would have been 44 tons. Number 3, it would have been 110 tons. And number 4, it would suffer a tension or uplift of 66 tons. So, if power row number 4 had not broken up, power 3 would crash, but the amount of reinforcement in the power body would not be able to sustain this tension. So, that being the case, a further analysis run with row 4 power ineffective would give this sort of outcome. So while the axle load would have been not too bad, all these piles would have to contend with fairly large lateral loads, and that's why the whole lump just moved forward. This is not my view. I came across this and I was given a report prepared by somebody else. So this particular engineer, X, called him, he says that this rough here on top of the piles would have been not a problem. They noted that there was this soil heap in front, so he postulated that this brick wall here sitting on top of this inclined rough slab and slid forward and pushed them. Anybody thinks that this is sensible? Nobody? Then you're right. So yet we keep seeing reports and conference papers, proudly proclaiming retaining wall failures in such a mode. Having adopted that stance, the only avenue left to explain the failure of retaining wall would have been groundwater rise in the retained ground, which I find it hard to believe. Okay. So the same episode, this is another sorrowful retaining wall on piles. You can see that this drawing is for this. Okay, we'll look down this way in sequence. So this was a reinforced earth or soil wall just before it collapsed or failed. You can see that there's a rise here. The retaining wall had heaved up before it collapsed. Okay? And after it collapsed, of course, straightforward. But going out to the side, this was observed. This is the lean concrete, this is the pile rough. So it was lifted up above the ground. Any engineer who goes to site will know that lean concrete is always poured ground. So in this case, the lean concrete underneath the power rock can be lifted up together with the rough slag. So it's the same mechanism that caused the failure of the earlier walls. So this is a survey. In black was the constructed position of the wall on plan. Red was the displaced line of the wall. In cross section, I tried to produce this. The black line was a design slope. What they constructed was a red line. And after failure, this lump of a wall moved out by a little bit more than 2 meters. And the top of the wall also moved up by about 0.2 meters. And then the ground heave here. So with that, I finish my presentation.